the release of the Epstein files has just really opened the can of worms on Bitcoin to an extent that I never imagined possible. And this has been one of the cool things people have been talking about in the Discord. Shout out to Marty, shout out to Ledger for bringing this stuff to my attention. I've been kind of reactionary against a lot of the Epstein hype recently because people have been taking everything in the files and just running with it to some absurd extent. Like, I don't think George Bush was like molesting and beheading like 3-year-old girls and like eating their entrails and stuff like that. Just seems a little out there. And, there's just stuff people are talking about with his bank name and all these things. They just ended up just being obvious, like just obviously not true, just obvious misinformation stuff. But I got to tell you, some of the stuff that's come out with Bitcoin, as I've been reading more into it in recent days, and even just this morning, right? A lot of the stuff is stuff I just like was like, oh, so not fully formulated thoughts just yet. But the connection with Epstein and Bitcoin is very interesting. And one of the bearish things I've been saying about Bitcoin for a while is that Bitcoin is orange coin connected to orange man. And in like sort of like a mimetic and highly political world, that's just bearish. It's really bearish because the blue team is just going to win the next election. And then they're going to just hate all of the orange things, like blue hates orange and red, right? It's just kind of simple stuff. So that was bad enough, but you know who people hate more than Trump? They hate Epstein, right? Like everybody hates Epstein. Like only like 2/3 of people hate Trump, but like everybody hates Epstein. So orange coin being like Pedocoin would be really bad, right? That's not something you want to see if you're a long-term Bitcoin holder. This guy, what's his name? Aaron Day. Yeah, Aaron Day. I've been kind of digging into this podcast he did recently and some of the notes for it that Ledger was kind enough to compile in the Discord if you guys want to check them out. The links between Epstein and Bitcoin are kind of crazy, right? Like the central claim revolves around funding and influence, right? So Epstein basically made about $1 million in gifts to MIT, which was connected with some of you had this battle in 2017, for those of you guys who don't remember, between the big blockers and the small blockers, Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin, Roger Ver versus everybody else, right? And that was a very contentious battle back in the day. And it was a big propaganda campaign. And I originally, back in the day, was very much on the side of the current trajectory of Bitcoin, the small block, right? The idea that what basically morphed into the digital gold narrative. But as recently as like the 2020 bull run, 2020, 2021 bull run, I started to like think that this narrative was like kind of BS, and I thought it hurt Bitcoin in a lot of objective ways. But also as like a trader, like I try not to care too much about what I think and what the world should be and where prices should go. I care about like what they are doing, what the market is doing. And it was objectively asinine to hold and own Bitcoin Cash instead of Bitcoin, right? Until maybe very recently. But I think with this Epstein stuff, right, you are seeing that there was a legitimate sort of conspiracy, especially involving Brock Pierce, who also has his fingers in like the Tether pie, and honestly is like kind of a fucking weirdo. Like you just look at this guy, he looks like one of these fucking cabal weirdos, right? You're not surprised at all to find that like he was like really into Epstein and he was on the Epstein Island. He's involved with Tether, was involved with the Blockstream debacle back in 2017 that gave us the current state of Bitcoin. And it's kind of crazy to see that like Epstein had like a direct tie into that, right? The other level of corruption here too is that you've got Tether and you've got Cantor Fitzgerald, which is obviously a big, uh, backer of Tether now, and who is like the guy behind Cantor Fitzgerald? Oh, it's Howard Lutnick, right? Big guy in the Trump admin. So this whole thing just like stinks to high heaven of corruption. And it was bad enough that Bitcoin basically just sold its soul to just number go up and get into the ETFs and be completely co-opted. And now there's paper Bitcoin everywhere. And you have this fucking Ponzi architect, Saylor, just buying all the Bitcoin. And he's literally like, it's like a fucking cult. He's literally a cult leader, and people are like deifying him like he's like a god. It's none of this like seems like it's going to end well. None of this seemed like it was going to end well to me for months. And the main thing I was screaming to friends of mine, because I have a lot of friends who had like 80% of their net worth in Bitcoin. And I was just like, don't do that. That's fucking stupid. Like this thing, it can go down. You can be wrong. Everybody can be wrong. Take chips off the table. Go to like 30% or something. That's still ridiculous, I think. But like at least it's not like 80. And I even kept some of my Bitcoin, right? Because I don't want to be that guy that sold his Bitcoin and that goes to 10 million and I feel like a fucking moron. But like honestly, I think I'm gonna dump the rest of it right now. And I think I'm still working through what to buy. But the idea that we should actually be buying some Bitcoin Cash is kind of interesting to me. Not something that 2017, 2018, 2019 Stephen ever thought that future Stephen would say. But if this narrative takes hold, the very obvious reaction is to go to privacy coins, which we've seen pumping, right, in recent months, but also to Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash was like the epitome of the big blocker narrative. And if this like the big blockers were right and they're not pedophiles and they're not connected to Trump in the same way meme starts taking foot, then like I don't know. I feel like from just like a narrative perspective, you could see this thing kind of moon.